Hello, everybody. My name is Nia Kamara. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you to the committee for permitting me to present this presentation to you on the potential research study of the anti-diabetic effects of Moringa. Thank you. Starting off a little introduction. This is centered around diabetes, which is quite prevalent in today's world. It is a growing global health challenge with which disproportionately affects low and middle income communities. Of course, there are current pharmacological therapies, and though while effective, they're often associated with high cost, limited accessibility, and adverse effects. So, and I'm sure as a result, due to this, there's an increase in interest in plant based therapies that are affordable, culturally acceptable, and of course, biologically effective. Diabetes is proven to be quite problematic across the United States of America. In the US, approximately 38.4 million people have diabetes, that making up a portion of the 11.6% of the population. 97.6 million adults have prediabetes, and it is proven to be quite burdensome on the healthcare system. According to the economic report, the total cost of diabetes in 2022 is $412.9 billion, dollars, which, of course, the money is directed into direct medical costs as well as indirect cost. With such costs, you would hope that adherence would be high, but unfortunately, prevalence rates for non adherence to anti diabetic drug therapy ranges from 30% to over 50%. Hence the introduction of Moringa, because there definitely is a need for supplementation for adjunct therapy to the standard care. Moringa oleifera has been widely used traditionally for quite a long time. It is hailed for its rich nutritional profile as well as diverse pharmacological activities, acting as a source of antioxidants, vitamins, and minerals. It has been hailed for its blood sugar regulation. Preclinical trials have shown that it can reduce fasting blood glucose level as well as postprandial spikes. The extent of its anti-diabetic properties are promising, with previous research alluding to its potency and effectiveness. As previously stated, the limited research definitely has hailed positive results, positive data. A study that was conducted to assess the postprandial blood glucose of individuals living in refugee camps showed that the supplementation with leaf powder did decrease postprandial glucose level by through the means of glucose intestinal absorption. Another study, which truly wasn't necessarily seeking to assess blood glucose level, it was more so seeking to assess moringa's antioxidant profile as well as oxidative status among postmenopausal women, did show a significant decrease in fasting blood glucose level. I do believe perhaps the most significant one was the study that was conducted with diabetic patients, which they were supplemented with Moringa tablets. It did show a significant drop of hemoglobin A1C levels among the experimental group, from 7.81 to 7.4% after Moringa supplementation for a period of 3 months. So the results are surely undeniable. Of course, it is widely available. Of course, not in certain areas in the states, but that can be easily mitigated. Readily available. It is resistant to harsh weather conditions. Nutritionally packed. Very promising in terms of its profile, its nutritional profile. The ultimate goal of pursuing this study is largely due to the fact that type 2 diabetes is quite prevalent and continues to rise, particularly in resource limited settings where access to conventional treatments are constrained. And just the fact that there is something that is readily available in nature that is showing promising facets in terms of controlling blood sugar levels. And unfortunately, despite promising findings and widespread traditional use, there is a lack of well controlled clinical studies assessing the efficacy and safety of moringa supplementation in patients with prediabetes and diabetes type 2. And of course, this study aims to address this research gap. The research question being that in adults with prediabetes, does a supplementation of 2,400 milligrams of Moringa compared to a placebo affect hemoglobin A1C levels over a 3 month period? With the objectives being to evaluate the effectiveness of Moringa leaf supplementation in improving glycemic control among adults with type 2 diabetes, or of course are pre-diabetic. This is to evaluate the changes in hemoglobin A1C levels following supplementation, and of course to evaluate the safety and tolerability of moringa supplementation. With the hypothesis being that moringa oleifera leaf supplementation significantly reduces hemoglobin A1C levels in adults with prediabetes compared to standalone care. Means by which the study will be executed will be through a randomized double-blind placebo-controlled clinical trial. The population being adults age ranges of 30 to 65, which is of course is the highest concentration of diabetic patients. And these are going to be adults that are diagnosed with prediabetes, confirmed through an A1C level between 5.7% to 6.4%, with a sample size of 6,500 participants to account for any exclusion criteria. In terms of intervention, participants in the intervention group will receive 2,400 milligrams of moringa leaf powder capsules daily for 12 weeks. And of course, the control group will receive a placebo, with the data point being analyzed being the hemoglobin A1C. The data collection, the fasting blood glucose levels will be assessed at baseline and at the 12-week mark period. The hemoglobin A1C will be assessed at baseline and of course as well as the 12-week period. Of course, there will be an ongoing adverse events monitoring. In terms of analysis, the data will be analyzed using pair T tests with significant sets at p-value of less than 0.05. This is all quite significant. The ultimate goal is to be able to translate findings from this research study to real life application. The study will provide scientific evidence for the potential integration of moringa into diabetes management, particularly in low resource settings, whereby findings may inform policy, clinical guidelines, as well as future research. Organizations that are dedicated to diabetic care, such as the American Diabetes Association, will be targeted in terms of collaboration for means of disseminating the effectual results of the study. Results derived from the study can radically transform the management of diabetes. With the rise of prediabetes, the rise of diabetes as a whole, there needs to be an adjunct to current diabetic management therapy, and this is to mitigate the high and unsustainable cost of treatments, and this thereby can alleviate some stress from the already heavily burdened healthcare system. Thank you so much for your time. I hope I have delivered a presentation as a component of the application for the grant. Thank you very much for your time.